What's going on, you loyal listeners? Thank you for tuning in to the L Squared podcast. I'm your host here, Luke Larson, and joining me today, as per the unusual, the co-director of the new film Class, which I saw at the South Dakota Film Festival this year, co-director Enzo Cellucci. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
I appreciate the brevity.
I don't know.
Do you want to do another take? Should we do another?
Yeah, let's take that back.
Yeah, let's do it one more time. We don't believe you. We don't believe you.
So you're grateful to be here.
Yeah, right, exactly. You're a genius, Luke. I love your work. That's your line.
Yes.
So
you are a genius, Luke. You are a genius. I got it. Yep.
I believe you. We can keep that one. So just from the top, I loved Class. It was so much fun. And it was, I wrote down, it's like, it starts off creepy and culty, but has this great like atmosphere and it's entrancing. And then it turns funny and darkly funny to a point where you're like, is it funny or is it not?
Yeah.
You know? And so just to cue the loyal listeners in, I'll read the synopsis for us here. New student Max attends his first ever acting class. He soon discovers that the lines between class and cult begin to blur as he and his fellow students are subjected to the bizarre but brilliant methods of their eccentric teacher, Adam, portrayed by David Krumholtz.
Yeah, shout out to Krumholtz.
He was so good. It was
right?
It was just like, looked like he was just having a blast the whole time.
Oh, yeah, he was. It was phenomenal to have him on set.
So I was going to ask is this based on a true story? Like, is this, have you taken an acting class and you were like, this is bizarre?
No, I've never taken an acting class. No, I definitely have. Almost every acting class I've taken has been like, it is based off of a true story, to answer your question. I mean, but it's like a compilation of, and look, there's even weirder shit. Can I say shit?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay. But there's even weirder stuff that happens in a class, like in an acting class that I've experienced. But I mean, the pool noodles was really weird when that happened. But
so that was real.
Yeah, it's all real. Yeah, it's all actual stuff. So yeah, the teacher's lines, everything is taken from experience.
Because like when I was speaking to a couple actors a few years ago, and I think the second season of HBO's Barry had come out, which if no loyal listeners, about a hitman who takes an acting class and enjoys acting more than being a hitman. But we were talking about the acting class scenes, and I remember asking them like, I'm like, is that realistic? Is that similar? And they were like not really. They're like, real acting classes are a lot weirder than that.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, that was the thing. There was a lot of, because this came from like a section in a feature we were making at the time. The idea, basically, we wrote a few scenes in a feature where this was just, the class was a small part of it. And we just sort of were like, let's hone in on that. And let's make it into something we can like bite off, and actually make something out of, instead of getting millions of dollars to do this feature. So that was what we were like planning on doing. We kind of expanded it, but it was all like, there was a lot of, this reminds me of Barry or something when we had the original script, like the original stuff in the class. Like, this kind of reminds me of Barry a little bit. And I had never seen Barry, so I didn't know what they were talking about. And I watched it and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have to agree. I mean, I related a lot to those classes. It was very real and on point with certain elements. We just wanted to go a little bit, and the acting class has been done a lot. And there was something we felt like wasn't being really tapped into with it, which was like that sort of horror, like the anxiety of it, like the real fear emotionally that you want, and the weird, awkward, uncomfortable laugh. Like we just wanted to get all the weird shit in there, and just have and try to get that across emotionally and intellectually.
And you also star in the film.
I do.
So was that weird? Have you directed yourself in stuff that you've acted in before?
No, I hadn't directed myself in stuff I'd acted in, but it was, I mean, it was, I kind of didn't want to give myself, if you notice, I don't actually do that much in it until the end, which is by design, because I was like, I can't do this entire thing and like be in, I can't be Krumholtz in this, like I can't be like that prominent in it, just because it's like I have to, when you're directing, your focus is mainly on the directing, because and we just did another thing where it was a similar deal. It's like, the acting is important, but the directing is a lot more important in the in the scheme of how a film turns out, So, and I needed to be more on that side, and thankfully I had Ash, who was my co-director, co-writer, and we're sort of share this brain, and he was helping me. When I would do scenes, he would basically take over directing duties for those moments. For the most part, yeah.
Was it difficult when you had the scenes where, well, the last scene, like you mentioned, when you had to get up on stage and try and do that sort of impromptu monologue? Was it hard to sort of, because I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure you're an incredible actor and would have nailed that on the first take, no problem. But was it hard to kind of be like, to try and straddle the line of like, how do you like do a kind of nervous thing, or,
Yeah, I mean, really, that was one of the first scenes when we started writing the short that we came up with, because I would, as we're actors, I sort of acted it out. First. Sorry, there's a blinking light, but that's an Uber. But I did when we were first working with it, me and Ash, we like to talk about it. We like to go, okay, so what if this was what happened, or whatever. And we were looking at monologues, and I sort of was like, what if I did something like this? And I kind of had an inspiration. I don't know if you've seen there's like a YouTube viral video of this guy doing an audition for Stanley Kubrick, and he's from Juilliard, and he's sending it in for Full Metal Jacket. And it's from like the 80s or something, and he is on video, and he's, no offense to this guy, Brian Atteen is his name. But he's hilarious, like unintentionally hilarious, but he does a monologue from like the Outsiders or something, and he's just like, I ain't gonna walk again, like that sort of thing. And I just sort of really love that idea of just like someone, who hasn't really acted, and I've obviously acted terribly, but in my at points in my life, and I was just like, I just want to do this version of it, just because there was like sort of like, oh, he's committing to this weird character choice, and like, but it's so bad, like and it just doesn't work at all. So like that was kind of just, it was kind of fun for me to do, honestly. It's actually not hard to play a bad actor for me. I don't know what that means.
It came a little too naturally, maybe.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. What the fuck?
So is there
but
like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go continue.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, are there do you have things that you do? I mean, maybe the pool noodles actually work, but to get outside of your body, I mean, do you have to get yourself in a mental space before you start acting?
If it's something where it's like, like with the pool noodle scene where I am actually acting in that, or like, like obviously it's confusing, right? Because I'm acting in it, but it's like you see me trying to act in it, so it's a weird, and it's like you see me like kind of at different stages of like goodness of at acting. So it's like weird to be like, oh, he's just acting this the entire time. Yeah. But it's yeah, like when I'm like, for that I wanted to get to a real emotional place. So when stuff's happening like that, it doesn't take too long to do it. But the reason that this class is portrayed the way it is because I have been to a lot of like method actor classes. I am the type of guy who like likes to delve deep into the emotion of something, or like go, who sort of has to really feel it for it to work. Some people can fake it really well. I'm just not great at it. Just doesn't read that well when you can fake it a little bit, but
yeah,
it doesn't work all the time. So I like to go to that level if I can or have the opportunity to. So I mean, that's so when I do it, I like to go there. I don't need pool noodles to hit me. I don't need to like
great.
I carry my troop of pool noodle bearing assistants
to just come out. You're a bad boy.
It's like I need a cry in this one, guys. Smack me.
Have you seen, speaking of viral videos, have you seen the Jason Alexander has his own class that he teaches, an acting class?
Oh, really?
Where
like
he's
a master class, or
I've just seen clips of it on YouTube, and I don't know, it's not, because he's just like, technique is technique is technique. He just yells that over and over, and like really? He like is getting some girl's face, and then she like gets mad at him, and then he's like, aha, you see?
Yeah, exactly.
You're like,
exactly. Wow. That's a big thing in acting classes, is like, and I never really got that part where it was like, I get it, like on a set you try to actually get a reaction out of somebody, and you're doing that, but in an acting class, and what we tried to capture was the world feels that the class feels like it's the entire world. It feels like that's it. Like whatever happens in here makes or breaks you, in terms of, it doesn't matter. I've seen people who were fucking hugely famous outside and just totally demolished in class, and like really trying to get the approval of the teacher. And there is a sort of cult-like mentality with it, where you become very like brainwashed into thinking life is this class. My worth as an artist is class. And so you get into those interactions where it's like, you might be like honestly traumatized by something and be like, that's what we're trying to get to. And it's like, all right, that's a little traumatic, like therapy trying to do that shit. And every acting teacher, and the part of the film was like, yeah, you got to eventually get to the place, like you either got to commit to that type of class or you got to get the fuck out of it, because it will work if you commit to it. But is that a healthy thing? I have no idea, but probably not. But it's actors are crazy anyway, though. And then you have, I don't know, it's just that every teacher acts like they know. A lot of acting teachers act like they are the end all be all. They know more than you do, and they know what's good and what's not. And you kind of have to, whoever you choose, you're buying into their belief on acting. So someone's saying technique, technique, technique. Someone else might be saying something completely different, but in the same, tone. And you think, oh, this is, this. I've taken the approach of like, everybody's got something interesting or good and, in there. And you just got to take what you like and leave the rest.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wrote down. I sort of wrote down, it's like, it feels like it sort of works if you buy into it. And
yeah, it's like a really subtle thing. I mean, it was too subtle, really. I mean, but in the short, pool noodles don't hurt you as a object. And that's like, there's like a whole moment where he's getting smacked and he's laughing about it. Mm-hmm. And David's character, Adam, is like, this is boring. And then he starts to react to the pool noodles like they're actually hurting him. And that's sort of the switch where he commits to the class, because he's like, oh, I'm going to act like these are like actually fucking me up a little bit. And really give into the fantasy that I'm getting beaten right now. And that's sort of a really subtle thing that happens in it, but that's kind of it. Like, you have to buy into it to get into it, I guess.
Yeah, and I wrote down like it's a little shades of Whiplash in there, like, like the aggressive teacher and wanting to get that approval. And I kept thinking of J.K. Simmons' big line, like the two most harmful words in the English language are "good job." And I'm like, these classes do feel like they're sort of set up for like the teachers sort of present themselves almost as a god, and like they have it set up where you'll never get their full approval, so that you're always working for it. And maybe, like you said, it works because actors are loony anyway, so it helps to.
Well, I mean, ideally, with the film, it's about an acting class, but we were trying to get it at least somewhat, I feel like it relates to a lot of professions. You're going to be, I think a lot of people have been in a room where they felt that vibe, to a degree, maybe not as weird and absurd as, the film was, but been in like an environment where everybody was nodding their heads at something and you were like, what the fuck is happening? And there was some boss or something being like, this is how we do things, and everybody's cheering them on, and you're like, what? Okay. And either you like go with that or you don't. And so that's kind of the self-imposed sort of thing of like sort of taking your own, like giving your own instincts power up to someone else was something we wanted to touch on as well,
Yeah. I was going to ask, was there a lot of improv in the scenes leading up to it? Like, were those actual exercises, or was like everything like scripted out?
Everything was moderately scripted out in those exercises, some of it more than others. Obviously a lot of basically everything past, like the Shakespeare scene on is all very scripted, but and then even before that, there's most of it is scripted, but there are some improvisational bits that were thrown in, and the Meisner exercise, which is the repetition, the whole thing with the guy being accused of looking like a rapist. That was a discovery on set. Basically, it was something that, like, we were trying to get there. Like, we had an idea that we wanted something along those lines, and then those two actors, Kristen Friedlander and Carson Higgins, they're great. All the actors are great in the film. They're all great actors in general, so they really can help elevate something. But we basically just were like, okay, how do we do this until we get something that, like, we get to the core of what we're trying to say? And that exchange ended up coming up out of that, and it was beautiful. So
That was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
Well, loyal
Yeah,
listeners, I'm excited for you to be able to check out Class. Enzo, is there a way that we can follow Class or follow you to see your work or to have a chance to see it?
Yeah. I mean, it's actually out on Leto.com. And it's, if you just search Class Leto or something, you'll find it. My name, Enzo Cellucci. My Instagram, well, you can go to our Instagram, it's Goose Mango Films, at Goose Mango Films. I know it's a ridiculous name, but it is what it is.
Yeah. It's memorable.
Yeah. Some people are like, Jesus, why did you? But yeah, that's kind of the vibe we're going for. So yeah, Goose Mango Films. We got one more thing we just finished wrapping up, and should be really funny and weird and uncomfortable, kind of like Class. So
sounds great,
but a whole different thing. So you guys might like that one.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. Well, I'll put the link for it in here for us. And
thank you.
Yeah, thanks again, man. I appreciate you coming on and talking about it. And loyal listeners, as always, you can find me on Twitter at Luke Larson89. Find the podcast at L Squared Podcast, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook at L2 Podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. And check out Class, check out Enzo. I'm excited to see the new one. And until next time. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on, Luke.